A very warm welcome to you. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the program Around Africa. I'm your host, Brownson Wana. On the program today, I'll be taking you to South Sudan. And of course, joining me on the program today is Austin Mweze, a lecturer in Pan-African University. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
All right. It's no more new that South Sudan has been going through some crisis. It's a kind of crisis that a lot of people have misplaced it. Some people say it's a political crisis. Some people have said there's a power tussle between two giants. And some other people feel it's a religious crisis. But then let's look at the origin. What would you say is the origin of South Sudan's crisis?
You know, South Sudan crisis started over 50 years ago. And when they were struggling to be independent, because the Sudan, that is now Sudan, the Arab Sudan, were like oppressing the rest of the Sudan, and for over 50 years they got this, and just like a typical situation in Africa, right from even before 1914, when there was a scramble to divide Africa into different things, the colonialists came, and Africans were not taught how to lead. They were not given education. They were not given taught how to do commerce, and then to understand politics. They were not taught all these things. And the same thing happened in South Sudan. When South Sudan gained independence a couple of years ago, there was nothing laid. They were more focused on getting separated from the Arab side, Arab Sudan, the Sudan. And nobody was prepared. They just saw power thrust in them. And what happened? Two comrades that fought. One agreed, okay, you'll be there, I'll be your assistant. And you know how power is. It's not just only Africa. The power, once you get in there. And then I think somewhere, somehow, something happened and they could not trust each other anymore. Then the deputy felt that, look, since you're deviating from the program that we have and you're trying to exclude me from the whole process, I better, find a way of getting this power from you. So that was the beginning of that. There was loss of confidence, loss of trust between the two friends. The president and his deputy. And the deputy took to arms to fight, to struggle power. And that has been this thing, and that's why I went back to trace when this struggle for power started. And in South Sudan, you're seeing that struggle for power.
Absolutely. Now, would you say South Sudan was ripe at that point to have requested or demanded for the independence?
This is 21st century knowledge economy. They are qualified, to ask for. But the point is that there's a song that we used to dance those days, and now that we found love, what are we going to do with it? You've been struggling for something, and then you find you don't know what to do with it. They struggle for power, and now they got power. What is going to do with it? They're confused. They don't know anything about development. All that they're doing is to struggle to retain this power. They don't understand any other thing, but to remain in power. And don't forget, the resources, whoever holds power controls all the resources. So whatever comes, and the other person feels that he's been excluded. Similar thing happened in Kenya. When, was it Jomo Kenyatta was there, after all the struggle and all that, he had issue. Now, Kenya was like a one big party system, and the economy was doing well. He ran an all-inclusive government, a positive politics. And I tell people that any society where you have a zero-sum politics, a winner takes all, you don't need that for a developing economy. It can work in the United States. It can work in the UK. It can work in Germany. Even in Germany, they have alliances here and there. But any country where they run a zero-sum politics, that country, especially in the developing, will always run into problem. And that is what is happening in South Sudan today. It's zero-sum politics, and the person feels, oh, he's in control. When it happened in Kenya, when Daniel Arap Moi took over, when he took over, he said that his own tribe, we are eating bone when Kenyatta was in power. Now that it's his own turn, it's a turn for his own tribe to eat meat. Meanwhile, the other tribe should be eating bone. This is a typical African thinking, the way they see politics, which is wrong. Okay? So you find that even a multi-party system in a developing economy, it has shown in the case of Kenya that it doesn't really develop the economies. So South Sudan is going through that process of nation building. They have to sort out their internal thing. But because the managers of the economy, managers of the leaders of that country now have not managed the situation very well. It's not as if this squabble did not exist while they're fighting the bigger picture. And you know that when you have a common enemy, your own enemy, if for instance we are enemies and we have a common enemy, we can join forces to fight that common enemy. Once we have defeated that enemy, we come back to settle our differences. And that is what is happening in Sudan today.
Now, there was an allegation by the president of Sudan, Salva Kiir, about a coup. Now, was there any coup at any point against the sitting president by his deputy?
Of course, because one was that he was a revolt. He wanted to get this power. Okay? He arranged with his people, who are those loyal to him, to get this power from this guy. Well, everything is just to grab this power. Now, the deputy may be accusing the president of wrongdoing and all that. But give him power today, he will do worse things tomorrow. It's all about struggle for power. Yes, there could be rumor, could be coup must have been planned, it must be, must have been discussed somewhere, and he got to know about it. But that is not enough. And I believe that if he had run, if he's running an all-inclusive government, he wouldn't be having the challenges he's having today. Let me digress a little bit. Go to Egypt. Egypt is going through everything. When Mubarak was there, Mubarak's problem started when he neglected the intellectuals in Egypt, because these are powerful clique, the intellectuals, and the intellectuals turned away from him, and his officials and all that corruption and all that. That was how the Muslim Brotherhood now seized that opportunity to come in and win that election. So any society, I can tell you, different parts of Africa going through the similar thing. Look at Libya. Gaddafi uses a strong destiny to hold the nation together. But when Gaddafi was gone, the same power struggle resurfaced. It was there before, but Gaddafi kind of suppressed everything. And when they took him off, thinking that Libya would be a better place for it, and that's the mistake, these Western nations make. They want every society to be as democratic as they are. But it's not possible.
Why is it not possible?
Because one, that you need to consider the culture, the life of the people, culture and lifestyle of the people, and come up with a system that suits them. China is not a democracy. There's no country in the world where democracy has developed the economy. The liberal democracy that Americans are practicing, you use that to sustain that economy. So it's not that South Sudan and all that must be as. Don't forget that there could be some foreign forces. Even the Arab Sudan, let me use that word, Arab Sudan, could also be fueling what is happening there.
Now that brings us to this very important. A lot of people have, as it stands now, people don't know what kind of war or what kind of crisis, if it's a religious fight or it's a political fight. How would you describe it?
Well, it's all struggle for power.
Political?
mostly political, because they had coexisted. It's predominantly a Christian nation, South Sudan. Majority of the population are Christians. Muslims are in the what I call the Arab Sudan. Okay? So there's no religion, no. It's struggle for power. They cannot, nothing else. It's all the bottom line, all the things, fueling all these things, just struggle for power.
Now, this brings us to this. Could this crisis be as a result of the oil in the nation?
Yes, don't forget that what they said, that the oil curse, or the oil curse. Let me use that word. You find that most nations where there's mineral endowment, factor endowment, the concentration is very difficult if you don't manage it well for that to be a nation. That society may just remain a country, because a country is different from a nation. A country looks at what is on the ground. How do I grab what is on the ground? But a nation looks one goal. They have a goal, and it's all people oriented. A country is more focused on the resources. Well, Nigeria is not a nation, it's a country. Sudan is a country. For the resources, there's a scramble for the resources. So who controls the resources? Not minding what they should be focusing on. How do we educate our people? How do we improve the quality of life? When you give people education, build industries, good infrastructure, then the quality of life of the people, the standard of living will improve. Sudan today, the new South Sudan, is very almost at the bottom of the Human Development Index of the United Nations. Nigeria is 130 something. South Sudan, a new country, should be, almost at the bottom. Okay, because the quality of life of the people, the standard of living of the people, very poor. So it's not as if the new country, South Sudan, they have to go through a process. But if they remain, the situation remains the struggle for power, it's going to take a long time for them to. And then the US and other Western nations that helped them to get independence, why did they do that? They make sure that the oil is carved so that they will have something to sustain themselves. So it's a struggle for mineral who controls the resources. But you need political power to make decisions, to control that. Without political power, you're wasting your time.
Absolutely. At this point, let's listen to the opposition camp of Salva Kiir. Salva Kiir is the president of South Sudan, and of course, his former vice president, talking about Riek Machar, made a very serious comment. Let's listen to the comment, and when we come back, I'll get reactions from Austin Weze.
Stocks can remove him. This is the less expensive method of make him leave. Juba is a target. The oil fields are a target because he is buying more arms, more ammunition. He's doing more corruption by exploiting our resources. Power sharing. Interim government years after restructuring the state apparatuses, after agreeing, after having achieved an agreement, and then having an interim constitution. With the interim constitution comes an interim government, and then elections.
You just listen to him. How do you react to his comments?
Well, it's all like we say in local parlance in Nigeria, not them. Because one is that he must have reason for wanting to take over power and all that. You can even do worse. And that's why I tell people, be careful the kind of change you ask for, because it might even be worse than what you have. Him saying that the president is corrupt, they were in it together. We said that he's not as corrupt. Maybe one is more corrupt than the other. But if he tells me that he's not corrupt, that's why he wants to.
But
That's not the issue.
the bigger problem is, as much as South Sudan is rich, it does not affect the life of the Sudanese.
This is the recursive of recursiveness of when you have a natural endowment. Then it happened in Germany. Okay, I think it was in Germany, and that was how the Dutch disease. Yes, that's the word. That was how the Dutch disease was. The Germans were rich, everything, but the people were poor. So the Dutch disease is what is happening in Sudan today. A rich nation, but poor people. Because they have not been able to harness and build themselves up to be able to build up their human capacity to be able to take advantage and use the resources that God has given to them to affect the lives of the people. They have not been able to do that. Let me give you an example. United Arab Emirates, Dubai, that everybody goes to them. Now, there's something in political economy, each time I discuss political economy, there's an example I usually give. One is the policy of the state, the policies that the government make. Why is it made? Now, what about there's another what I call permit me to use that word, prophecy. There's a prophecy, there's a policy. The prophecy belongs to God. The policy belongs to state. Now, the job of the state, the president of the state, the government, is to make policies that will bring God's plan for the people to pass. And what is God's plan? That people should live comfortably, express themselves, take advantage of the opportunities around them, be healthy, and all that. Excuse me. So you find that in the United Arab Emirates, that the policies of the state is towards making life better for the citizens. And any nation, any leadership that makes sure that their policies are geared towards the well-being of man, that economy will grow. And that is what is happening in the United Arab Emirates. That is what is happening even in Singapore. Because all their policies are towards the well-being of the citizens. But in some of these countries, they don't even care. What is happening in South Sudan today is that the leadership does not even care about the people. And this one struggling to come in now could even be worse. And I think, this struggle for power, when if you said that this man is corrupt, fine. Sack him through the polls. There's a process.
The election is in 2015.
In 2015, allow him. Why in a hurry to remove him?
Now, this brings us to that big one. A lot of people have criticized the international community. They've not always been prompt in their actions. Now, for instance, in Central African Republic, before they intervened in the war, a lot of souls were already lost. Even you can take back to the Rwandan genocide. Before they came in, a lot of souls were lost. South Sudan is suffering. It took United Nations and all other international community time to be involved in this war. Why is it always that way?
No, you see, because one is about interest, national interests. If the national interests, is there should be crisis in a particular country, so let it be. But when it's not serving their interest, that's when they intervene.
Now, does it mean this international community sometimes feel those crises?
Of course. They fuel the crisis. If you understand geopolitics, you know that for them to do business, check for example, in the US, the Republicans, why is it that from the history of the United States, any Republican president is always caring for war? With Democratic presidents, no. They hardly go to war. Because the Republican presidents, through war, they create wealth for their people. They create wealth. Because they must, provide opportunities for people to sell their arms. They provide opportunity for people to do one thing or the other. It's only in Nigeria we go to war, we fight without any benefit. But in the US, the soldiers carry their guns, they're shooting, clearing the way. Businessmen are behind, getting all the contracts to fix. And the money must come from the state, not from the US. The US cannot use their money to develop your place after destroying it. There are about 300, between 250 and 300,000 contractors in Iraq and also in Afghanistan.
All right, before I let you go, let me hold you there. Before I let you go, because of our time, the two parties involved, do you see in any point that, or is there any way they can ever be peace between both of them? Do you see them coming together to do business again?
Yes, but the only way to bring them together is for them to put their personal interests aside and just focus on national interests. Let their egos be. They drop their egos, drop their personal interests, and pick up the national interests. No reason why they actually fought in the first place. If Zimbabwe could also come, because Mugabe had a similar challenge with Nkomo, Nkomo, one of his deputies, until they were able to resolve. As the nation grows, they overcome these challenges when they put aside their personal interests and pick up the reason, the bigger picture. They're not looking at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that they should make a bigger pie for everyone to be able to benefit from this. They should consider the people. Put their personal interests aside, and that way, the nation, they can work together, and the followers can work together, and the common man will be better for it.
All right, of course. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
A lot of things that needed to be visited as far as South Sudan is concerned. But let's see if we can have a part 2 of this program sometime soon. But for the meantime, we hope that very soon peace will return to that part of that continent. Africa is our own. We have to protect it. My name is Brownson Wana. On behalf of my production crew, have a wonderful day.